All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Kodash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, I'm just going to go into, a lesson on the King Alfred plan, also known as Rex-84, because one of the, elder brothers in the GMS Detroit camp pretty much issued a challenge, to brothers to, do a video on this particular topic, because as we know, the, apostles, on down, starting with Apostle Tahar, because he's mentioned it, frequently, Rex-84, the King Alfred plan and what it entails, So I'm just going to go into a lesson on it. This may very well be, a two-part, possibly three-part video. But, we'll see because I have, some information to bring out. So, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And this is a PDF on exactly what the King Alfred plan is. So it says King Alfred plan, code name Rex-84, totally repugnant to the United States Republic Constitution for people under its protection. Says introduction. The plan first appeared in a John A. Williams 1967 motto, The Man Who Cried I Am, a fictionalized account of the life and death of Richard Wright. In the afterword to later editions, Williams compares the King Alfred plan to intelligence programs devised by J. Edgar Hoover in the 1960s to monitor the movements of black militants. It also bears similarities to rumors in the early 1950s surrounding the McCarran Act, an anti-communist law in which political subversives were to be rounded up and placed in concentration camps during a national emergency. When his novel was first published, Williams photocopied portions of the book detailing the King Alfred plan and left copies in subway car seats around Manhattan. As a result, word of the King Alfred plan spread throughout the black community, and the truth of its existence was often assumed to be unchallenged. Performer and musician Gil Scott-Heron created the song King Alfred Plan, included on his 1972 album Free Will, that takes the plan at face value. Jim Jones, head of the Apostolic Socialist People's Temple, discussed the plan at length in numerous recordings of his rant-style speeches, both in the USA and in Jonestown community in Guyana, treating it as completely genuine, right? So, and you have a couple, famous names that were mentioned, J. Edgar Hoover, again, which is one of the presidents during that time in the 1960s, and you have Gil Scott-Heron, because again, they mention his song, The King Alfred Plan, which I've listened to it, and it's actually, a good song, because he wasn't actually singing, he performed this as a poem, which, have the lyrics, in which I'm going to read, the whole song, so, just bear with me, because like I said, man, this is going to be, it's going to be broken up, so this is Gil Scott-Heron's song, The King Alfred Plan. It says, it's 1972, an election year, and once again, black people are running for their lives. Reasons are things like the King Alfred plan, the concentration camps that we used during the Second World War to house Oriental Americans are now being refurbished to confine their new residents, i.e., black people. Brothers and sisters, there is such a place for you in America. This is the King Alfred plan. So he mentioned, the concentration camps, during World War II, which I have, photos like went to something else. So, you have photos, of those camps, during World War II, and there, put in concentration camps, it has photos of, the 48ers, about, this event right here, about that, But as we know, that was a hoax. But those concentration camps were indeed a real thing. This is another picture. These, yeah, man. This is a good one right here. This is what he's describing. So, getting back to it. And he said, brothers and sisters, there's a place for you in America. Places are being prepared and ready night and day. Night and day. The white boys' plan is being ready night and day. Night and day. Listen close to what rap say about traps like Allenwood, Pennsylvania, already in D.C. to preventatively detain you and me. So again, man, he knows that these camps are being set up ultimately to, house Israelites, man, because as we know, other nations are going to be thrown in them too, but primarily these camps are being prepared for Israelites, mainly those that are coming up against this man's new world order. Let's keep reading. It says, how long you think it's going to be before even our dreams ain't free? You ain't think I exaggerate? It's like you think I exaggerate? Check out Allenwood, Pennsylvania. And night and day, it's like your night and day. The white boy is scheming night and day. And is that not what Esau's doing? Is that not what these elites are doing? They're scheming, man. They're coming up with plans, So just real quick, man, because I do have some scripts written down, but at least I'm going to grab this one, So let me see. Because again, man, this was in 1972, man. So obviously this was during the time of, the the Great Awakening, because we have to remember, man, 1969, that was a significant year, because when, you had them shoot their satellites, up into space, and then you also had, High Priest Abba Bivens, who we believe to be Elijah, coming back, he was on the scene. So, starting with, High Priest Abba Bivens, man, that Great Awakening started to take place, because again, man, even though a lot of, Israelites during that time, they were still off, but they still knew some things, man. And, Gil Scott Heron, he's just one of those people that knew some things. And again, man, just this, I'm not even going to call it a song because it's a poem, because if you listen to it, yeah, there's a beat, behind it, but he's singing or reciting this song as a poem, man, So I'll leave the link, to, that song in the description. So I'm going to grab this real quick, and this is the book of Psalms, chapter 82 and verse 3. And it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. And again, man, is that not what the elites are doing? They're scheming day and night on how to overthrow Israel, man. And just like it says in this very same chapter, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, man. That's what they want to do. You know, it's actually in verse 4, man. You know what? Let me just go ahead and grab it. Psalms 83 and 4. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." So yes, that's what the elites are trying to do. You know, they want to cut Israel off, you know, from being a nation. And then that, you know, the latter verses just goes into, you know, the nations, you know, that are confederate against us. And just, you know, just going to paraphrase it, you know, it says the tabernacles of Edom, you know, Edom. In verse 6, man, the tabernacles of Edom. And it mentions them first because they are the main adversaries to the nation of Israel, man, the nation of Edom, the so-called white man. You know, he is the main enemy to the Israelites, man, along with the other nations, but the nation of Edom, starting with Amalek, man, they are the enemies to the nation of Israel. So, continuing on, it says, the J's and Hitler come to mind, the thought of slavery far behind, but white paranoia is here to stay. The white boys scheming night and day. What you think about the King Alfred plan? You ain't heard? Where you been, man? Says, if I say, it's like if I may paraphrase, the government notice reads, should there at any time become a clear and present danger initiated by any radical element threatening the operation of the government of the United States of America, members of the radical element shall be transported to detention centers until such time as their threat has been eliminated. Cold King, it's like a cold King Alfred. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. And it's not even a rap, but man, Gil Scott Heron was spitting bars, man. And this is not even a rap, and he's telling you the truth, you know? He's telling you the truth in a poetic manner, man, but Jake ain't hearing it, man, and even the men of the Lord, man. And just while I'm even on the topic, because ultimately, you know, the King Alfred plan is going into martial law, you know? That's ultimately what it's about, you know, martial law. This is what it's describing, you know? And I remember during, you know, the pandemic or the plandemic, Slovakia, during 2020, you know, I was telling, you know, one of my cousins about, you know, martial law, how there was going to eventually be martial law in the streets. You know, he scoffed, you know, he laughed at me, you know, and called me, you know, Mr. Martial Law, to which I replied, I said, okay, you know, because again, he didn't believe, which, you know, during that time I was still, you know, maturing in the faith. But now, you know, eventually, you know, he's going to remember that and it's going to come back to bite him in the ass, you know, because I told him about what was going to happen before it happened, you know. But hey, man, our people ain't going to get it till it's too late. But I'm going to keep reading, man. It says, bullshit. I bet you say there ain't no Allenwood, Pennsylvania, and people ain't waiting day and night. It's like it, and people ain't waiting night and day, night and day, night and day. There will be, without the Motown sound and Thunderbird wallowing in the echoes of Malcolm's words, there must be black unity. There must be black unity. For in the end, unity will be thrust upon us, and we upon it and each other. Locked in cages, pinned, hemmed in, shoulder to shoulder, arms outstretched, for just a crust of bread, watermelon mirages, and oasis that does not exist, conjured up by the bubbling stench of unwashed bodies and unsanitary quarters, concrete and barbed wire, babies screaming, stumbling around in a mental circle. Because you never cared enough to be black, in the end, unity will be thrust upon us. Now, again, as we know, I'm not sure if Gil Scott Heron knew he was an Israelite or not, but again, man, we're not black. We're Israelites, because you do have different shades of brown, but again, man, we're not black. We're different shades of brown. Now, again, he's saying black people. So, in particular, he's talking about the tribe of Judah, But even then, it doesn't just, this message just doesn't only apply to Judah, man. It applies to all the tribes. But again, Judah is the head tribe. So whatever Judah does, the other nations are going to follow, And that's why this great awakening has to start with, the tribe of Judah. Then eventually the other tribes, will fall right behind him, But again, this man is describing what is going to be like in those concentration camps, man. It's going to be terrible. So I'm just going to read the rest of it. It says, blanketed, stifled, a salty taste in your mouth from blood oozing from the cracks and woolly heads, red pools becoming thicker than syrup. Slow down your face. Birds matted by the life force sprung loose from whales, well deep by the enforcers of mock justice of the red, white, and blue. In the end, unity will be thrust upon us. Let us unite because of love and not hate. Let us unite on our own and not because of barbed wire death. You dare not ignore the things I say. Whitey's waiting night and day, night and day, night and day, night and day, and he wasn't lying, man. Esau's waiting patiently. Now, even though, the men of the Lord, the prophets are out here exposing this man's plan, he's still scheming, man. He's still coming up with plans to get ready to pretty much torture Jake, man. To throw them in concentration camps, man. To do all matter of wickedness to them. And that's just one of the ways, that this man is going to, be unleashed, man. Because again, I've mentioned this at camp, this past Saturday, that the Lord is getting ready to unleash this man. Because as we know, Esau is the Lord's sword, man. He's used this man to punish us for our wickedness, man. But ultimately, during the time of Jacob's trouble, even though the entire nation is going to be in trouble, it's mainly for the 2/3, man. The entire nation, even these other nations that are over here, man. But again, why is it called Jacob's trouble? Because Jacob, meaning the tribes, man, all 12 tribes are going to be in trouble because the Lord is going to unleash his sword, man. So let me grab that real quick before I go back to that. So let me see, Slakia, bear with me. Trying to remember how it was worded. Pretty much the Lord is saying that Esau was a sword. Mm. Okay, bam. All right. This is Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 5. And it says, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. You know, so if I'm not mistaken, this was originally talking about Sennacherib, you know, him sending him to punish Israel. But, you know, as we know, in this current time that we're in, you know, the Lord is going to send, you know, Esau to punish Israel, you know, 2/3. Because again, man, the elect are going to be preserved. Yes, they're still going to be in danger, you know, but overall, the Lord is going to protect his elect, man. But 2/3 of the nation of Israel are going to suffer out here, man. You know, they're going to suffer horribly because they refuse to repent, you know, and turn back, you know. So let's just read a little bit more before I grab a couple more scripts. It says the King Alfred plan, code name Rex-84. King Alfred, in the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the President, is to be put into action immediately. Excuse me, Slakia. Says participating federal agencies, National Security Council, Department of Justice, Central Intelligence Agency, Department of Defense, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Interior, participating state agencies under federal jurisdiction, National Guard units, state police, participating local agencies under federal jurisdiction, city police. So as it says, as we know, you know, state agencies, it says state police and National Guard. So what do you think anytime, you know, people riot out in the streets, what's the first thing they do? You know, they don't deploy. Well, what they do, the local police, you know, they'll be deployed first. But if they can't keep the people under control, then what do? They send in the National Guard, you know, because they know if the police can't handle it, they're going to go in and, you know, handle business, you know, because as we know, man, the National Guard, they're not going to F around, man. They're not going to play, you know. So, and then it's just going into, you know, the different regions of the U.S., man. So I'm going to read this. Page 2, it says, Memo, National Security Council. Even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord have become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, The unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. The violence has resulted in loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars, and the end is not yet in sight. This same violence has raised the tremendously grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other, and the answer to that is no, because the nations aren't supposed to be mixed, and mingled together, man. Nations are only supposed to dwell among themselves, and you see why, because they have different beliefs, and that's just one of the main things, man. But every nation of people is supposed to have their own land, to dwell in. But America is a melting pot, man. You have every nation of people over here, you know. So people aren't going to live in peace. So continuing, says each passing month has brought new intelligence that despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority the minority still is not satisfied. Demonstrations and rioting have left a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in city after city across the land, and our image as a world leader severely damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage, possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain objectives, which are not clear to most Americans. It is expected, therefore, that when these objectives are denied, the minority racial war must be it must be considered inevitable. And there will be, racial wars. There are going to be race riots, man. These different nations are going to be coming up against each other, So which I'm going to grab that real quick. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 7. And it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." The point being that nation is going to rise against nation, man. These different, countries, are even going to be at war with each other, man. And that's what it's describing, So it says, when that emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all 22 million members of the minority, men, women, and children. For once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate once and for all the minority threat to the whole of the to the whole of the American society and indeed the free world, says Chairman, National Security Council. Preliminary memo, Department of Interior. Under King Alfred, the nations have been divided into 10 regions. Hence the reason why you also have, area codes from 0 to 9, because again, the 10 regions we're just going to go into. Says in case of emergency, minority members will be evacuated from the cities by federalized National Guard units, local and state police, and if necessary, by units of regular armed forces using public and military transportation, and detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action has been decided. So again, man, once all hell breaks loose, there's going to be martial law. They're going to send the troops in to do what? Restore order, to bring order out of chaos, man. To which, let's get that, because this is a very real thing, man. And the warning is going out. This is about to take place soon, man. Man, this is a very real thing. So I'm just going to get it, man. Right here. Simple Google search. And it says, the question, it says, what does order out of chaos mean? The phrase order from chaos is loosely based on the Latin phrase ordo ab chao, translated as out of chaos comes order. This is often regarded as a means to impose totalitarian control over society, first by creating chaos through various forms of subterfuge, then using this as an excuse to institute order. Hence the reason, again, order out of chaos, man. Order through chaos, man. Remember, problem, reaction, solution. The elites create a problem to get the reaction of the people so they can eventually offer their solution, and one of their solutions is going to be, them sending these troops in to throw these people into concentration camps, man, to do, unspeakable things to them, man. And this is a real thing that's going to take place. It's real. So I'm going to finish reading page 2. So 1, it says capital region, northeast region, southeast region, Great Lakes region, South Central region, Deep South region, Deep South region 2, Great Plains, Rocky Mountain region, Southwest region, West Coast region. No attempt will be made to seal off the Canadian and Mexican borders. So again, man, the borders are going to be open, just like they are now. So they're just like, man. So this is why it's just easy for these migrants to come over here, man. They're not stopping these people from coming over here. So it says Secretary, Department of Interior, 849-899, King of England, who slaughtered thousands under the disguise of protecting the European region of Christianity. As a result, he was revered as one of the most noble kings in the history of England. Combined memo, Department of Justice, preliminary memo, Federal Bureau of Investigation and Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI and the CIA, said there are 12 major minority groups. There are 12 major minority organizations, and all are familiar to the 22 million dossiers have been compiled on the leaders of the organizations and can be studied in Washington. The material contained in many of the dossiers and our threat to reveal that material has considerably held in check some of the leaders who do not have such unusable material in their dossiers have been approached to take government posts, most likely as ambassadors and preliminaries, primarily in African countries. So I'm just going to list that, So I'm just going to give one more scripture, then I'm going to end it. Then, Lord willing, I'm going to come back with part 2, Because again, man, this is a real thing. This is really going to take place soon, and people are just oblivious to the fact that this information is just out here, free. So I'm going to get the book of Psalms, chapter 64, and verse 8. And it says, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." So yeah, man, you even have different, of these insiders and even celebrities that'll come out and expose different things that Esau is doing. Esau is exposing Esau. That's them, their tongue falling upon themselves. You had guys like, the comedian George Carlin, that spoke about, various things that, the government was doing. Another great example is, Aaron Russo, who talked about, what Nick Rockefeller, wanted to do, or the plans of the elites in general, how they wanted to chip everyone, and even then, I think he may have even talked about the concentration camps as well, so it's just out here, man. This is a very real thing, and Jake needs to wake up, because this is what's coming to America soon, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give our praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.